My name is Jill Ryder and I'm Accenture's Chief Leadership Officer. My responsibilities are essentially to report to our Chief Executive on all things to do with our people. So it's everything from leadership development, which includes our culture, values, succession planning, performance management of the top team, through to the whole training and all of the HR processes that affect our people. This has been a very big month for me because I've now been with Accenture for 25 years. Accenture is one of the world's top companies in terms of consulting, outsourcing and technology consultancy services. We have over 100,000 people in 48 different countries around the world. Clearly the US is one of our biggest markets. Europe, we have a huge presence. Big countries in Europe would be the UK, Spain, France, Germany, Italy. In most of the countries in Asia, we have a presence. For example, I recently went to India to run a leadership development program there for our top 90 executives in India, and that was a very interesting cultural experience for me. We're also in Latin America. Main countries there would be Brazil and Argentina. Australia is another big country, New Zealand, we have clients in New Zealand. If you name a country, we tend to have people either working at a client there or an office based there. We don't have a headquarters because we are actually very virtual, so our leadership team tends to work by coming together in a particular location for various meetings, and we do very often come together around our training for our people. We do fly everywhere. We try and make sure that we rotate our leadership meetings around the different countries in the world. So next month's meeting is going to be in London. This month we're here in New York. The month before we were actually in Chicago because we have a training center in Chicago. And so part of my job is really to think about how do we create a people strategy that allows us to have the right people with the right skills at the right time to actually be able to execute our business strategy over time. And that linkage between business strategy and all of our people is a very, very key aspect of my job. I had nothing to do with the creation of the job other than the tap on the shoulder and being asked to do it. Joe Forehand, who was our chief executive at the time, he said to me, I have a chief financial officer who's looking after the numbers, but I don't have somebody at the same level reporting to me, dealing with everything to do with our people. So he asked me to become his chief leadership officer, which is the same sort of role as the finance officer does with the dollars, but is actually everything to do with our people. I think most companies recognize that there is a real need to have something which is a human capital function. So to put teeth behind the words, people are our most important asset. Everyone recognizes you need to do that. But I do believe that Joe, in creating the role, was one of the first to say, and I need a really senior person at the top table actually doing this job. I report to Bill Green, who is now our chief executive, and essentially exactly the peer group, my peer group reporting directly to him includes the CFO, it includes our general counsel, a strategy officer, and all of the group chief execs who run the major P&L chunks of our business, the divisions of Accenture. We've done a lot over the last couple of years to really think about leadership and what that means within Accenture. We've always been this huge engine creating leaders, but actually we've taken a step back and said, well, what is the magic sauce that we have about leadership? And very often companies have leadership development programs, but they haven't worked out how to really do it at scale. So they have these minor interventions, but they don't feel they're getting the real value out of it. So what we did was we started off by saying, well, let's write down what we mean by leadership. So we created a thing called a leadership statement, which is quite long, but it's very clearly divided into 3 major contributions that we expect all of our people to think about in terms of leadership. They need to be a value creator, which is to actually deliver value to either our business or our clients' businesses. They have to be good at people development. So we really put a lot of emphasis on how you develop others. And we also have to have people who are very good business operators. So they really think about how to make whatever it is they're doing the most efficient and effective they can. So our leadership statement sort of articulates those three things, what it means for you as an individual to actually be a leader. And it has a lot of very important principles about leadership in it. So, for example, we believe that every leader has to be totally authentic. If you're not authentic about who you are, you will not lead people in a very good way. So we spend a lot of time getting people to understand themselves so that they can be good leaders. And we also talk a lot about how leaders have to have responsibility to teach other leaders. So to try and get people out of the mindset that too many business leaders live in, which is the mindset of I'm here, I'm in this role, and therefore this is how we'll do it. But to really think about what they've learned and what they know, and then to flow that down the organisation in a teaching way to other people who hopefully will step up to take their job in the not too distant future. The leadership statement that we wrote had to be, and we validated that it is, real to all people in our organisation, and it had to be real to the people in all our 48 different countries to make sure it actually works culturally across the different countries. So we actually did a lot of validation. The way that we've actually chosen to get it out to the organisation is clearly to start at the top and then to cascade it down. So we've taken the statement and we actually then build up the chief executive's objectives around the three contributions, and then we cascade his objectives down through the leadership team. So the statement goes through the organisation, backed up by performance management, to actually make sure that people do respond to those three criteria, the value creator, people developer and business operator. And then actually our compensation systems kick in to make sure as we measure people against those criteria, we reward them accordingly as well. So we have some principles that say if you're not at a reasonable level of people developer, you can never receive an outstanding contribution overall because you're not balanced across the three contributions. So we link together the understanding of the statement, the development opportunities, then performance management and compensation. As Chief Leadership Officer, obviously I have better make sure I'm a good role model and actually live by the values and the principles. But actually in terms of who reports to me, I have the HR organisation reporting to me because clearly that is the organisation that makes a lot of these things happen. And then the rest is really done through influence and impact of working at the executive level team to make sure that the group chief executives, as they execute through their organisations, are consistent with our values, our culture, and everything I've just said about managing and measuring performance against the leadership statement. With training and particularly leadership development, you do have to be very cognizant of people's culture and their natural style. But actually what we found is that the fundamentals of how you develop leaders and the things that people need to focus on are the same everywhere around the world. And so for our top leaders, we do bring them together in a very culturally mixed group to actually talk about leadership development. And although the style in which something is executed may be different, the content is just the same around the world. One of the things we really believe about people and the development of leaders is that the top leaders have to teach. They have to have a teachable point of view that allows them to teach future generations. And as part of that is responding to our marketplace, which is of course constantly changing and hugely competitive. So part of the teaching mindset is to get our executives out in the coalface with our teams at clients, really working out how to be innovative, how to be entrepreneurial, how to really deliver value to our clients. One of the things that I'm starting to work on a lot this year is succession planning. Succession planning is really making sure you understand where your future leadership talent is, what opportunities they really need to get to develop, and what sort of roles they'd actually be suitable for, so that if God forbid, somebody gets knocked over by a bus, you've got a list of people who are ready to take that role. Because we've had, I think, an amazing run of good leaders being developed, and now we want to get more into the organisation and be more pervasive about how we do succession planning. So it's not new, we've always done it, but it's new that we're taking it down quite so low in the organisation. And our intent is to really get to know the future potential leaders, to understand what they need for their development, which might be some training intervention, some coaching, or just some different experiences, such as moving somebody to a different geography so they become more globally diverse. So it's one of the big challenges of this year.